Continuing this Barebow form series, we are going to talk about what we do while at full draw with a barebow. Specifically, we're going to be talking a lot about transfer. This final step really sets the ball in motion within our shot cycle on the execution phase of the shot, and it really allows us to hyper-focus on the most important things in order to shoot more tens. So like I said in the intro, we're going to be talking about mostly the step of transfer, or some of the other steps that we do while at full draw during the step of transfer right before we get into actually executing the shot. This is just a continuation of the Barebow form series I have been working on, teaching you how to use the NTS system or the KSL Shot Cycle and how to apply it to barebow. And if you're interested, I have links in the description below, plus a card at the top up there for the rest of the playlist. If you haven't seen those videos, I would start there and watch them to the end, because I will be referencing them and using, specific terminology that I've addressed in the previous videos. Also, I have a form series for Olympic style recurve if you're interested in that instead of barebow. Also will be links in the description below. So up until this point, we have covered everything, including load and anchor, and now we are getting into what we do while at full draw, and specifically how to transfer and how to apply that to barebow style shooting. So in all the previous videos up until this one, well, not all the videos, but most of them, I did mention do not aim yet. And in this video, you are finally going to start aiming. That happens right at the moment of transfer and right before transfer is complete, essentially. That's when you'll actually start aiming. But we're not going to quite address that yet. First, let's talk about what is the step of transfer and how to apply it to barebow. So transfer is a step that basically separates the two phases within the shot. I like to think that there are two phases, being a loading phase and then an execution phase, and transfer separates the two. The loading phase is everything you do prior to being set at full draw, and then the execution phase is, okay, hone in, start aiming, and execute the shot. Release, follow through, whatever you need to tell yourself. There's different terminologies and different ways to do both, but transfer can be applied to any style of shooting and any method of shooting. And in my opinion, it's really important to separate those two phases, because there is a lot of stuff that goes on before you get to transfer. A lot of movement, a lot of placement, a lot of tension, a lot of things that you build up. And you want to completely forget about those things and only focus on the finishing of the shot. That is the biggest point of transfer, is to separate those two things. It is partly a physical step, but more than anything else, it is a mental step, especially once you are really proficient within your movements and you're a lot more efficient at using your back to pull the bow back. So first, we'll talk about what happens during the physical phase of transfer and the step of transfer, what actually happens. So the actual physical motion of transfer is very small. It is more of just kind of that extra lock and set into the back to really make sure that you feel that you're fully engaged in your back, and you have the least amount of finger and forearm and bicep tension that you can really have, and more of that energy that you're stored being transferred into back tension. So it's really not too difficult, and it really requires a very small movement. I'm grabbing my finger tab here so I can demonstrate to you how the actual step of transfer looks in real life, because it's really not too big. It's very small. And at the highest levels of shooting, it's difficult to actually see those high level shooters that are very proficient at the NTS or the KSL Shot Cycle. You won't really even see a transfer unless you have a trained eye. I can see it, but not everybody can. So I will call it out as I do it the second time around. So transfer may be a little difficult for you to see, but I'll still show you. So I doubt you really even saw all that much movement, but I will call the steps out as I'm actually doing them. Obviously, I've got my stance and posture set. I've got my hook and grip here. Set up, load, anchor, transfer. Really not a whole lot going on. And this is because I've really done my job prior to the step of transfer to really use my back as much as possible, to get in the best alignment as humanly possible, and to really, as I've stated, especially in the video previous to this one, building up into the shot to get to the end and none of this back and forth going on. So what I am referencing in a very small movement is load, anchor, now transfer. It's just a little bit of extra movement. It's not a whole lot. Now, if I didn't do such a good job prior to this, transfer would look something like this. Load, anchor, transfer. So I'll face another direction so you can see it. Load, anchor, transfer. So that extra set from anchor to transfer, it's like an extra bit of rotation. You're bringing that land two around a little bit more. Again, land two is back here, means nothing. So your posterior deltoid essentially moves that direction around and behind you. And it's a very small movement. All it does is it really starts to engage more of the back muscles and allows you to kind of relax this front half a little bit. So transfer, the name of it, is rooted in transferring the weight from the front to the back. Although if you do your job correctly, as I do prior to coming to full draw, I'm already using my back as much as I possibly can. This physical step of transfer is very little as far as the actual movement is concerned. Another thing that you can physically try to feel, which is initiated through a mental step, is to feel your intensity come down. I will be doing a video after this one talking about the intensity of the shot cycle, and it'll really be tied into the expansion phase or the execution phase. So keep an eye out for that video next. If you haven't yet, do hit that subscription button and the notification bell, so that way you're notified when I do upload that video and any video in the future. It does help this channel out and it's much appreciated. So the mental steps of transfer is the actual kind of meat and potatoes of the actual meal that is transfer. So what it is more of a calming down. It's more of, like I said, switching from the loading phase to the action phase, separating the two things into two parts, allowing you to focus on one and do the best job you possibly can, and then switch to the next section. And that is, again, what transfer is. So it's basically, it's just a settling down. It's a calming of the mind. It's a narrowing of the focus. It is switching from, how does my back feel? Did I lose my finger tension? Did I change my grip position? Am I like raising my shoulder? Did I lose my hips? All of those things that I'm really hyper focusing on. How does my body feel? Nothing's moving. I'm good to go. Transfer. Now execute. And that is more of what is the root of how to transfer, is you have to take a step, a commitment to the actual shot. And it's not just a commitment to how to draw the bow back, it's a commitment on how I'm going to execute the shot. So you focus on how to draw the bow back during the loading phase. You have then calmed your mind, cleared your mind of the things that are beforehand. You hyper focus on, how am I going to get to the point of setting my grip sear off, or getting to my cue on how to release, or having a good aiming pattern, or whatever your main focal point is during the execution phase. And then only focusing on that and letting everything else disappear and just kind of following that path and making it happen. That is what transfer is. But before you get into actual the execution part, where you're saying, okay, I am done transferring, that is the time on where you start to set your string alignment and start to aim. And I'm not going to tell you in this video how to set string alignment and aim. I do have videos already produced for those, and there will be links in the description for both of those. And I will put a link up there for the how to aim a barebow video, which was pretty recent, so many of you have checked that out. But definitely check out the string alignment video, because I do address how to set your string alignment properly for string walking or any other style of barebow shooting. So as far as the actual mental commitment to the shot, it is essentially how I can explain it, you have seen a cliff, right? You're cliff jumping into a body of water down below, a lake or a river or whatever it may be. And you have, you know that the water's there. You know the pool is there that you're gonna hit, and you're not gonna hit a shallow area. And you're running up to that cliff edge. That is like drawing the bow back. I am running, and right before I am ready to let go of the string, right before I am ready to jump off that cliff, that last step, everything kind of slows down and you just kind of brace, and then you just commit to hitting that pool of water that's down in the bottom. Like that last commitment to the jump, to clearing the edge of the cliff, clearing the rocks below and hitting the plunge pool. That is what transfer is. It is this almost blind leap of faith to committing to finishing the shot. And it is something that is super critical to high levels of success, higher levels of shooting. Not many people will really integrate this into it unless they have deliberately tried to do this on purpose. Most people will just draw the bow back, aim, and shoot. There is no separation of the phases. And I find that movements and the intensity and the energy that you are using and your focus, everything is more hyper focus, and you can actually be more aware of more things because there is less going on in the actual shot process and less to distract you. If you don't separate that drawing phase or that loading phase from the execution phase, then there's just too much going on. Too many things, too many thoughts, too many feelings can come in and distract you from how you actually execute. That transfer removes all that distraction, removes the potential pressure, removes the distracting yelling crowd, or the guys laughing behind you and having a good time, or whatever, anything, even dead silence in your own backyard. That transfer removes all that different stuff, that just mangled mess of distraction, and allows you to clear your head and just focus on that execution and the finishing of the shot, the full commitment to finishing it exactly how you want to. And if you don't have a separation between those two phases, this part will not be consistent and not be controlled. So again, it's more of a mental step, it's less of a physical step. The physical step is really just making sure you're fully engaged in that back, and the mental step is more of that full commitment to eliminating the distraction beforehand to finishing the shot. Yes, there is that part of reducing the tension, reducing the excess intensity that you've built up within the shot, and being able to feel your body calm down that last little bit before you commit to finishing is really going to help your consistency, and especially going to help your consistency under pressure. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider hitting the subscription button and the notification bell, as well as the like button. I would appreciate it. Also, please consider supporting my channel. If you head to my website, jakekaminski.com, there'll be info and links on Patreon, apparel, books, and equipment sales, PayPal donate button, a P.O. box to send things to, and above all else, please share this video because there's no better advertising than word of mouth.